Welcome to the Literacy Teachers YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about video games that can support reading development for your struggling adolescent readers. So here we go. All right, welcome everybody to another Literacy Teachers YouTube video where we're all about helping you to inspire, motivate, and change how your students read and write for academic success. So previously, I talked to you about how video games can help not just any reader, but specifically struggling readers, right? So they can be useful for all of your students regardless of how well they read, but they can provide some particular benefits for those students who struggle. So what I want to do in this video is share with you some examples of games that can help your students improve as readers and that they will likely find enjoyable. Now I've got, let me see what's on my list here, 4 games today that I'm going to recommend for you. And these are all described in more detail in a blog post, and there are links to all of the games in this blog post. So I'm going to put a link to the post in the show notes. So if you want more information and you want to link, see what those games, I go directly to them. All those links, like I said, they will be in the blog post. Now, with these 4 games that I'm going to share with you briefly today, I like to think that there's something on this list that a kid can connect with, but keep in mind a couple things. This list is not in any particular order. I'm not like the first game that I'm going to present to you is not like the #1 game that all kids, that's like it should be your first go-to. That's not necessarily true. I think all of these games are great and that they're worth taking a look at, and they all offer something a little bit different. Some offer more reading than others. Some offer some logic games that others don't have. They have different feels, different flavors to them. And they're also on a variety of topics. So they're going to appeal to, different kids, right? Not every kid's probably going to like all of these games, okay? Before I get into this, as always, you should, before you make any recommendation to your students, review them, make sure you're comfortable with the content, make sure it's age appropriate, and if it's something that you think, hey, I know a kid that would probably really like this, but you're kind of iffy on it, maybe for some reason, talk to their parents about it and have their parents review it, right? Maybe just make a recommendation straight to the parents. So let's get into this. What are these games? So the first one, and this is the one I have talked about and done research on. I worked with the app. I didn't work with designing this game, but I worked with the app developer to collect some data and study the impact, is Delight Games, all right? And this is the game that I've been discussing in previous videos. It's also been written up on previous posts on my website, and it's mostly text-based, right? It's predominantly text-based. It looks a lot like you're reading a book. Okay, and it's a choose your own adventure style game. Stories on that are going to be largely sci-fi and fantasy. There are some graphics, okay, but heavy on the text. Again, lots of benefits that struggling readers specifically reported getting from Delight Games, okay? And just because it's heavily text-based doesn't mean that it's going to turn off your struggling readers, because some of them are really going to love it. And they're not going to think about the fact that there's so much to read. They really tend to view it as a game, okay? Makes no sense to me because I see it as a story. I see it looking a lot like a book, but that's how they see it, and that's all that matters. Now, the next one's a game that's been around for a while. You might have played this yourself. It's called 80 Days, and it's a video game adaptation of Around the World in 80 Days. There is some reading involved in this, obviously, or I wouldn't be suggesting it. But it is significantly less reading, especially compared to Delight Games, all right? What it does offer is that students are gonna have to be very skillful at paying attention to details, and then they're gonna really have to engage in some analytic thinking if they want to win this game. There are lots of options. There's, like Delight Games has options, and kids will go back and replay those to see how different options take them down different paths. But 80 Days has even more options to give you just this crazy, diverse experience of the game to keep you coming back again and again and again. It can tend to be kind of the same in the beginning, maybe the first few decisions that kids make. But once they get beyond that, it really can branch off into completely different directions nearly every time you play it. So it allows for a lot of multiple replays with different experiences. And again, right, they're going to have to really be paying close attention to detail, which is, I think, really important and something, different and unique. Now, the third game here is Device 6. Device 6 has also been around for quite a bit of time. It's one of my favorite games personally. Device 6 is a story about Anna, and Anna has woken up on an island with no memory of how she got there. And what is interesting about Device 6 is that it makes a story with puzzles, and readers have to solve these puzzles to make progress and get additional information about their situation, right? It's not heavy on the text, but the story is incredibly engaging, and then the puzzles add another layer of challenge and promote some analytic thinking. And then finally, game number 4 is Lifeline. Now, Lifeline is an interactive story that takes place over a period of several days. It is entirely text-based, okay? Players engage in a series of text messages with the main character as they try to help him survive a spaceship crash. So Lifeline, if you Google it or if you check out the blog post and look at the link, it's got other similar games with different storylines that are available in that series. I don't know if series is the best word there, but you'll click on it and you'll see what I mean. There's other things. If kids really like Lifeline, they can sort of continue on with different versions, different stories that follow that same kind of text-based problem-solving trajectory. Now, out of all of these games, like I said earlier, Delight Games is the one that closest resembles a book. But like I said, students are likely to perceive it as a game, okay? And the thing to know is that a lot of this that I've recommended today, it's probably not going to fit into a traditional school curriculum, but I do believe that, there is value in considering recommending these games for students to play outside of school, because what it can do for them is really promote a positive reading experience, which you want for your struggling readers, and it's going to help them find ways to connect with texts.